was at this big industry conference last month. The keynote speaker, she was incredible. Totally commanded the stage, energetic, witty, holding this audience of like 500 people, just captivated. During the Q&A, she was sharp, charismatic, just radiating confidence. The perfect extrovert, right?
Right. That's the label people reach for.
That's what everyone was saying. Later, I saw her at the packed networking reception. She was surrounded, smiling, shaking hands. But I noticed her eyes kept flickering to the exit.
Ah, interesting.
An hour after that, I happened to be in the hotel's quiet lobby bar. And there she was, all alone in a corner booth, headphones on, nursing a glass of water, just still.
Completely switched off.
She didn't look sad or shy or angry. She just looked like a battery that had been plugged into the wall. That image, the electric speaker on stage and the quiet figure in the booth, it's the perfect illustration of the one thing almost everyone gets wrong about this.
Yeah.
We see the performance and we slap on a label, but what we're missing is the price of that energy.
Precisely. The cost.
That opening image is crucial because it highlights the massive gap between visible performance and invisible energy cost. We label someone based on their output, she's an extrovert, and completely ignore the depth they might be running up.
Exactly. It's a surface judgment.
That's why we're undertaking this deep dive for you. To stop using introversion and extroversion as flimsy personality labels and start treating them as vital psychological tools for energy management.
It really is the foundational misunderstanding that continues to plague, our teams and relationships. When Carl Jung popularized these terms, he wasn't offering a diagnostic checklist for social skills. Not at all.
Right. It wasn't like a personality test result.
No. He was describing dimensions for how a person gains and expends their internal mental energy, what he termed psychic energy. The core idea is that these aren't fixed traits. They describe your sort of operating system.
Okay, so if we accept that distinction, we have to immediately address the biggest confusion, the link between shyness and introversion. I think everyone assumes they are synonymous.
Oh, absolutely. It's the #1 mistake.
So what is the difference between someone who is shy and someone who is introverted?
They are completely distinct concepts. Shyness is fundamentally related to fear, specifically. The fear of social judgment. It's an anxiety response, really.
Okay, so it's about worrying what others think.
Exactly. Introversion, however, has nothing to do with confidence or fear. You can be an introverted person who is a supremely skilled and confident public speaker who feels zero anxiety on stage. Zero.
Like the keynote speaker, maybe?
Quite possibly. But the sheer act of being in that high stimulation environment, interacting with 500 people, is a massive energy drain for them. They still require alone time to recover the expense.
So the key distinction isn't the enjoyment of the performance or even the skill.
No.
But the consequence of the performance on your, cognitive reserves, your battery.
That's the shift we need to make. That's it, exactly. Introversion is defined as a preference for quiet, low-stimulation environments in order to gain energy. If you're introverted, that is where your mind recharges.
And extrovert.
Extroversion is the reverse. A preference for external stimulation and interaction to recharge the internal battery. They need that buzz.
What's fascinating here is that we aren't talking about two separate boxes of people, are we? Like you're either IN or OUT.
Not at all. Everyone possesses both tendencies, and Jung was clear that these tendencies exist on a continuous spectrum. But your dominant preference dictates where your primary energy source lies, where you naturally go to refuel.
Okay, let's focus on the introverted mechanism first then.
Yeah.
If your primary power source is internal, what causes the quick energy drain, and what does true effective recharge look like?
Well, the introvert draws energy from the internal world, from thoughts, feelings, self-reflection. They prioritize depth and focus. That's their zone.
Right.
So when they are placed in environments that are too crowded, too noisy, or just too interactive for too long, their energy reservoir depletes incredibly quickly. It's like watching a phone battery drain in real time.
Okay, and recharge.
Their recharge requires solitude, or sometimes small, highly deep-level groups. For them, the quality of the interaction is far, far more important than the quantity. One meaningful conversation beats a party full of small talk.
You shared the story of Lucas, the high-level banking analyst in Zurich. On paper, you would assume he's pure extrovert based on his career, right? High pressure, client-facing.
Absolutely. Lucas was brilliant at complex presentations and handling these grueling 3-hour quarterly reviews with high-stakes partners. He looked at the picture of success and confidence, total command.
Yeah.
But that presentation cost him everything, as he put it. When the review was over, his colleagues wanted to ride the adrenaline high.
Yeah.
They wanted more external stimulation, go out, celebrate.
The extroverted response.
Exactly. But Lucas refused. He immediately went home to total silence, headphones on, no music, just stillness. He needed to shut down all input.
And here's where the misunderstanding is so dangerous, especially in modern team structures.
Mm-hmm.
His colleagues mistook that necessity for arrogance or being a non-team player.
Precisely. And this isn't just about hurt feelings. It's a fundamental conflict between two valid, opposing physiological needs within a team. Both needs are real.
He wasn't rejecting them personally.
Not at all. Lucas wasn't rejecting them. He was respecting his own machine's limits, his need for quiet recovery. Now, if we look at the extrovert, is their power system just the mirror image? Why does too much quiet time actively drain them? That seems counterintuitive.
That's a great way to put it. For the extrovert, interaction isn't just a pleasant diversion. It's necessary fuel, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Extroverts gain energy from the external world, from social interaction, from activities, from environmental stimulation. That's where they light up.
So what happens when they're isolated?
When they have too much alone time, when it's too quiet and focused for too long, they actually feel empty, listless, foggy, drained. Their cognitive clarity declines.
So the silence doesn't charge their battery.
No, quite the opposite. Their battery doesn't charge in solitude. It needs connection and external engagement to power up. For them, the quantity of interaction often serves as the pathway to the quality they seek. They need to talk things through, bounce ideas around.
The Alara story perfectly flips the script on conventional wisdom about focused work, doesn't it? The student who locked herself away.
Oh, completely. Alara was the student in Bern who isolated herself to study for exams, thinking that was the productive thing to do. Like, I must focus, no distractions.
Which sounds logical.
It does. But she stayed in total quiet for 2 days, and rather than focusing, she became increasingly anxious, foggy, and depressed. Isolation was actually making her less productive. She couldn't think straight.
Wow. So what changed?
Her roommate finally dragged her to a noisy cafe study group. Alara initially felt guilty about the perceived distraction, the noise, the people.
Yeah, I would too, probably.
But the moment she walked into that stimulating environment, started talking through concepts with others, it was like plugging in a dead phone. She described it just like that. She became vibrant and mentally clear.
So for her, interaction was the key to focus.
Exactly. For the extrovert, interaction can actually be the prerequisite for deep focus sometimes. It clears the fog.
As I listened to these two extreme examples, Lucas needing total silence, Alara needing the noisy cafe, I realized that I switch between them all the time depending on the task or maybe the day. Is that just normal human behavior, or is that actually a category of its own?
You've hit on the flexible middle ground, which is actually where the vast majority of the population lies. Ambiverts.
Ambiverts, okay.
Ambiverts are the adaptive ones. They are comfortable operating in both modes and draw energy from both solitude and social interaction. They aren't stuck on either end of the spectrum, which is their greatest strength, really.
So they can lead the discussion, take on that high-energy extroverted role, but they equally appreciate dedicated time for deep introverted reflection. They can kind of code switch their energy source.
Precisely. This flexibility makes them natural project managers, consultants, and negotiators roles, requiring both deep listening and high-energy leadership. They often seem effortlessly balanced.
But maybe it's not effortless.
Well, that balance requires vigilance. It's not automatic.
Sophie, the project manager in Basel, sounds like she elevates this vigilance to an art form. You mentioned her managing energy like a budget.
Yes. Sophie manages her energy like a financial budget. She knows that the energetic afternoon team meeting requires high extroverted output. So she consciously spends her morning engaging in deep introverted work, analyzing data alone.
Planning ahead.
She is literally saving up mental energy units in the morning so she can spend them leading the team effectively in the afternoon. She's not being fake in either mode. She's being a highly smart energy manager.
That makes so much sense.
The challenge for ambiverts like Sophie, though, is that while they are flexible, they risk burnout by constantly adapting and potentially neglecting the subtle needs of whichever tendency is dominant at that moment. They have to be the most aware of their budget, you could say.
That distinction, that this knowledge should be an operating manual, not a limit, is the real practical takeaway here, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do we turn this psychological understanding into an actionable toolkit for managing life, relationships, and work?
Yes. We need to transition from using these terms for labeling others or even ourselves in a limiting way
Right.
to using them for self-alignment, knowing how your system works best.
So what's in the toolkit?
Okay, the first area is environmental management. This is key. If you lean introverted and you know you're going to be stuck in a stimulating environment for 8 hours, like an open office or a conference.
Yeah, that sounds exhausting just thinking about it.
Right. You must plan short, intentional micro doses of solitude. Stepping outside for 5 minutes, closing your office door for 10 minutes, maybe using the first and last 15 minutes of the day for quiet focus. Build in recovery breaks.
And for extroverts, stuck in quiet work.
If you lean extroverted and you're facing a long stretch of quiet, focused work, you must actively seek brief interaction opportunities to refuel. A quick chat with a colleague, walking over to someone's desk instead of emailing, maybe a short break with others. You have to manage the environment to suit your power source.
And so much of this comes down to internal permission, doesn't it? If we accept this as a genuine physiological need, how do we stop the internal judgment? Feeling guilty for needing quiet or feeling lazy for needing interaction?
That's the second area. Self-validation, absolutely crucial. You must recognize that your need for solitude or your need to talk a problem out loud with someone is a physiological energy requirement of your mind. Your brain needs it.
It's not a character flaw.
Exactly. It's not a moral failing, a sign of weakness, or an indication that you're less effective than your colleague who operates differently. You stop judging yourself based on someone else's ideal performance mode. Your internal energy mechanism simply requires different fuel. Give yourself permission.
And finally, translating that self-awareness into how we interact with the people close to us, especially when we need to leave a party early or ask for space. That can be tricky.
It can. So clear communication is essential. The third tool. We have to learn to articulate these needs to friends, partners, family, using clear, non-defensive energy language.
Instead of making vague excuses like, I'm tired.
Right, or just disappearing. Use language like, I've really enjoyed tonight, but my social battery is completely dead and I need to head home to recharge. Or, I need about 30 minutes of quiet time when I get home before we chat, just to decompress.
So you're explaining the need, not rejecting the person.
Precisely. This shifts the conversation from a perceived rejection of the people you were with to an honest statement about your physiological state. It minimizes conflict and builds understanding over time.
Really reframes the whole thing.
If we connect all of this to the bigger picture, what we've discussed today confirms that introversion and extroversion are fundamentally energy mechanisms of the mind. They dictate how we interact with the world to maintain our necessary internal balance, how we stay functional and, well, sane.
And understanding those mechanisms, whether you identify more with Lucas needing silence or Alara needing buzz or Sophie managing her budget, it frees you. It really does. It frees you from the limiting stereotypes and the expectation that your performance must always look a certain way, regardless of the internal cost. This knowledge is the key to managing your internal resources, making sure you're not constantly running on empty, and ultimately living a more productive, happy, and truly self-aligned life. It's about working with your nature, not against it.